Well, I guess I just put both of them together in one video. In my last video review I talked about Sam Raimi's cult classic R-rated superhero movie, superhero maybe also horror movie, Darkman, and as I said, it's fine, it's a-okay. I enjoy it, but prefer Evil Dead or Spider-Man, or even Raimi's Doctor Strange. I mean, he turned Benedict Cumberbatch into a Deadite, that's great. So I decided to check out the sequels too. These are direct-to-video sequels from the 90s, so I went into it with low expectations, but also a bit of hope. One of the Dead Race sequels, for example, was decent, though. And the first couple of Tremors sequels, which were also direct-to-video and from the 90s, were pretty good actually. So let's get into Darkman 2. Durant's return. So if you watched the original Darkman, you are probably wondering how Durant was able to survive this. Well, I have no clue. He has the scar face now, just like Dr. Loomis, so I'll guess that's enough. Would have been cool to see him also disfigured like Westlake, but I guess they didn't want to apply all the makeup. Immediately he returns back to life, and also a life of crime. And eventually finds a crazy doctor in an asylum. It makes him create some super weapons, which have super unrealistic weapon stats, and turn trucks into bad visual effects. He also has a bigger plan, which sounds absolutely stupid. But what was Westlake, the Darkman, doing meanwhile? Well, in a pretty entertaining intro scene, we see a very brutal and bloody action sequence about a pretty confusing gang war or something. Eventually Darkman appears and beats up the criminals, continues his research and learns that another researcher is also close to a breakthrough with his skin transplant technology. He gets to know him and they want to work together, but the researcher gets killed. Darkman soon learns that Durant is alive and behind the murder. Darkman tries to prove that Durant is alive and keeps killing. He also finds an ally with a reporter and tries to protect the researcher's wife. Before I go into some spoilers, I will take a bit to generally talk about the movie. For one, it's not terribly made. There's some production value here. They have some competent action and they added quite some blood actually. There are even scenes which pay homage to the original, but show the whole bloody mess, so they gave me something I wanted from the first one. But the story overall isn't great, and it has some terrible pacing issues. Every time there's no action it just gets so damn boring. The story really drags on at points and the plot isn't even that good in the first place. Durant still has some good moments and is a good fit as a bad guy. They also have the blonde from Xena here, and she's okay too. Arnold Vosloo is trying his best, but he just doesn't have the same material as Liam Neeson had, and his South African accent was a bit distracting, at least for me. It's not terrible, but distracting. The movie is also not as much fun as the first one. While the action is mostly pretty good, some of the effects are pretty bad. There are still some disguise shenanigans and switcheroos, which are okay, but I honestly don't even remember how they eventually killed Durant. But I remember that the real plan of Durant was pretty stupid. So he wants to sell his super weapons, which are powered by uranium or something like that, to a bunch of far-right terrorists, so they can kill all the gangs in the town, and once they run out of ammo, Durant will kill them with the next load of his super weapons. That's just stupid. What if they decide to kill him first? What if they keep a couple of weapons in reserve and kill the gangsters? What if another gang steals the weapons and uses it? Also, the distance which the weapon can shoot was so unbelievably long that they would probably destroy the whole city in the process. So it's like giving a monkey a hand grenade or something like that. Just doesn't make sense. Darkman 2 isn't terrible though, as I said, but it has some pretty obvious flaws. But when it's good, it's pretty good, I would say, so it keeps a balance, so to speak. Darkman 2 is not good and not bad. It gets a 5 out of 10. Next one is Darkman 3. Die Darkman, die. What an odd tagline for a movie. It starts again with a pretty good intro action scene, and it keeps being bloody just like the previous movie. We see another gang boss played by Jeff Fahey this time, probably my favorite side character in the Lost TV show, where he played Pilot.
You know, I was supposed to be flying it.
A character they introduced at some point, then didn't know what to do with him, but had to keep him around as he was the only pilot.
You know, I was supposed to be flying it.
Here he plays an actual character and he's pretty good actually. But one of his men gets killed in a scene similar to the Ted Raimi scene in the first one. That makes Jeff angry and he tries to find the man responsible for this. Meanwhile, Westlake, the Darkman, is still trying to find a permanent cure for his disfigurement. He suddenly is contacted by a woman who says she was one of the doctors who was treating him after he was brutally attacked. She offers some machines to assist him in his research, and he hesitantly agrees. Soon all three cross paths, and intrigue, twists and an ever-growing body count follow. This one has a way better story than the previous one. It's not on the level of the original, but I was pretty entertained most of the time, I would say. The action is also nice, and with Jeff Fahey we have a pretty good performance here. He plays a real dirtbag who mistreats everyone around him. This also involves his family. He is cheating on his wife, he doesn't care all that much about his daughter, and Westlake eventually gets to know both of them through his disguise, and they bond, which is nice and offers some depth on the story and characters without being too cheesy. Unfortunately, there are still some stupid ideas. They somehow make Jeff's henchmen to superhumans or as strong as Westlake through a serum they create from Westlake or something. Doesn't really make sense in my opinion, as part of his craziness and power came from the disfigurement, I thought, and the pain that he endured. These henchmen are also supposed to kill a politician with their bare hands. I mean, in that scene Westlake saves the politician by shoving him aside, and then two of the henchmen just get shot by cops. I mean, wouldn't the cops shoot them anyways if they have to protect the politician? It's just dumb. They would have probably shot some drug addict looking guys who are very angry storming the stage with the politician anyways, or at least try to tackle them. But even with these flaws, it was more fun than the second one. Not a must watch by any means, but not bad either. Even slightly better than mediocre, I would say. I think I will give this one a 6 out of 10.